The sun was beginning its slow descent over the wide, golden plains, casting long shadows. Across the dusty town of Red Rock, the wind carried whispers of old tales, laughter, and broken dreams alike. Among the tumbleweeds and the worn wooden buildings, one story stood out that no one in the town would ever forget. Her name was Clara, tall, strong, and with a heart too big to fit into the narrow minds of the townsfolk. Since the day she was born, whispers followed her like shadows. People called her names, laughed at her frame, and judged her for being too big for a world that prized smallness and delicacy in women. Yet there was something undeniable about her spirit, unbreakable, fiery and filled with an untamed courage that frightened even the bravest cowboys. Clara's life had never been easy. Her family, poor and desperate, had tried to marry her off to any man who might tolerate her size, but no one wanted her. When they couldn't find a suitable match, they made the unthinkable decision to sell her to the highest bidder at the market, hoping to relieve themselves of what they called a burden. The market was grim, the sun beating down on the backs of women and men lined up like livestock. Yet Clara held her head high. Her eyes, a stormy blue, burned with defiance. She knew the world saw her body first, her heart second. As the auctioneer's voice rang across the dusty square, calling out prices and teasing the crowd, Clara felt a mix of fear and indignation, but she refused to let her shame show. Each bid made by the townsfolk felt like a knife twisting deeper, but inside her a fire raged. She wasn't just a body to be judged or sold. She was a person with dreams, with desires, with a heart that longed for love and acceptance. And though the crowd saw her as too big, Clara knew that the right eyes would see something more, something worth cherishing. The crowd jeered, calling her names, making cruel jokes about her size. Some men laughed as they held up coins, daring each other to bid higher, thinking they were choosing a possession, not a person. It was degrading, humiliating, and unbearable. Clara clenched her fists, but she could not deny the cold fear creeping into her chest. Yet amidst the laughter, a shadow moved through the crowd, a figure tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a weathered hat pulled low over his eyes. He was unlike the others, quiet, calculating, his gaze steady and unnerving. He didn't laugh at her. He didn't jeer or whisper cruel things to his neighbors. He simply watched. And there was a calmness in his eyes that made Clara's heart skip. This was a man who saw beyond the surface, beyond the size and the rumors. He saw her humanity. The auctioneer called for the next bid. $10, someone shouted, and Clara flinched. The crowd laughed. Then a low voice, firm and commanding, broke through the din. $25, said the cowboy, stepping forward. Heads turned. It was a bold bid, more than anyone expected, but the calm confidence in his tone silenced the crowd for a moment. He didn't just want her. He wanted her because he saw worth where others saw flaws. The auctioneer's eyes widened and the crowd murmured. The men who had been laughing began to whisper nervously. No one had expected a man like him to take an interest, much less in a way that made the world around them seem suddenly small and meaningless. The cowboy's gaze met Clara's, and in that instant, she felt something shift. A promise, unspoken but understood. He didn't see her as too big. He saw her as perfect for the life he could offer. The bidding continued, but no one else dared go higher. The cowboy's presence commanded respect, a quiet authority that silenced mockery and skepticism alike. Finally, the auctioneer banged his gavel. "Sold to the gentleman in the hat!" Clara's heart raced. Fear mixed with an unfamiliar thrill. She didn't know what awaited her, but she sensed she was being rescued from the world that had always rejected her. The cowboy approached, his steps deliberate, measured. He extended a hand, not possessively, not cruelly, but firmly and kindly. "Come on," he said. "You're just right for my arms." His words were simple, yet to Clara, they felt like a lifeline thrown across a chasm she had been dangling over for years. The crowd stared, stunned into silence, as she allowed him to take her hand, feeling an unfamiliar warmth and strength that made her stand taller than ever. As they walked away from the market, the sun dipping lower, painting the plains with shades of gold and crimson. Clara felt something she had never felt before: acceptance, safety, and the glimmer of hope. The cowboy didn't just see her body. He saw her heart, her resilience, and the fire that burned in her spirit. Along the winding trails leading out of town, past the cacti and open fields, Clara realized that life had given her a rare gift: someone who would cherish her fully, without shame or judgment. And in that moment she made a silent vow to herself. She would never again let the world dictate her worth. She would embrace the love and freedom this mysterious cowboy offered, and finally live in the arms of someone who truly saw her. As night fell, stars sparkling above like diamonds scattered on black velvet, the cowboy set up camp by a quiet stream. He offered Clara water, a warm fire, and a quiet smile that made her chest tighten with an emotion she could hardly name. Sitting across from him, she realized that every cruel word, every mockery, every door that had closed on her life had led her to this moment. And though she didn't yet know the cowboy's past, his intentions, or what trials they might face together, Clara felt a surge of courage. The world had tried to tell her she was too big, too much, too flawed, but here, by this fire, she was exactly right. And she knew deep down that the best stories often began when the world had rejected you. As the embers crackled and the night air grew colder, Clara leaned back, letting herself feel safe for the first time in years. The cowboy's eyes never left her, filled with unspoken admiration and protectiveness. He spoke softly, almost to himself, but loud enough for her to hear. "I've seen a lot in my life, but I've never seen anyone quite like you. You're just right." And for the first time, Clara truly believed it. Somewhere out there, beyond the judgments, beyond the cruelty, love had found her. And the journey ahead, full of uncertainty, danger, and adventure, promised something she had only ever dreamed of: belonging,